Well, hello everybody and welcome to Chef's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to be making blondies. Now for my blondies I'm going to add soft dried apricots which I've chopped up and hazelnuts which I've roughly chopped, but you could add anything you want. You could add almonds, walnuts, pecans, chocolate chips of any variety, toffee pieces, cranberries, whatever you want you can put in. I'm adding these two things which will give a nice bit of a fruit flavour and the crunch of the nuts. I'm also going to use browned butter. Now my recipe calls for 185 grams of butter, melted and browned, but you can just use melted butter. The browned butter gives it a slightly more nutty flavour, and if you want to brown the butter, you put that into a saucepan and you heat it over a medium heat until it's bubbling and the milk solids cook off, but you don't want them to burn. So they will cook off and turn a brown colour, and that will turn the butter a brown colour and give you a nutty aroma. So I have my 185 grams of butter melted and browned in my stand mixer, and that works out at 1.5 sticks of butter plus a tablespoon. Then I have 185 grams, which is 1.5 cups of plain flour. I have 265 grams, which is 1 1/3 cups of soft brown sugar. That's packed soft brown sugar if you're doing it in cup measurements. And I have 1/4 cup plus a tablespoon, 65 grams of caster sugar or granulated sugar. Then I have 2 medium eggs, which would be large in the USA. I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I have 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla powder, but you could use a teaspoon of vanilla extract, that would be fine. So I'm going to put those little dry ingredients into the flour, and I'm going to mix those around just before we go any further. Then I'll just set those aside. So with my butter beginning to cool, what I'm going to do is to put the 2 sugars into the butter, and I'm going to give those a good mix round to get them combined. I should say I have my oven preheating at 180 Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I have lined an 8-inch square cake tin. Sorry, a 9-inch square cake tin. I have lined a 9-inch square cake tin. You could use an 8-inch one. They'd be slightly thicker brownies, but I've got 9 inches. Now with the sugar mixed into the butter, I'm going to add the egg, one at a time if I can. And I'm going to whisk those until they're combined, and then I'm going to carry on whisking for 3 minutes. I want to give some volume to this mixture because we want a dense brownie, but we want it to have a little bit of rise as well. Now with that beaten together, the eggs, it's thickened up a little bit. What I'm going to do now is to add in the flour and the other dry ingredients, and then we're going to fold in our hazelnuts and apricots. And I forgot to say, I think I have here 100 grams of apricots which I've chopped up. That works out at 2/3 cup. And I have 90 grams of hazelnuts which I've roughly chopped, and that's also 2/3 cup. So I put the flour mixture in, and I'm just going to mix that until it's nearly combined, but there may still be a few flecks of flour showing. I don't want to over mix this, and then we're going to fold in the other ingredients which will finish mixing the flour in. So I'll do this on slow. And once it's started, I'm going to just scrape down the side. And that's just about mixed in well enough. So what I'm going to do is take off my beater. And I'll take the bowl off the stand mixer. Scrape down the bowl, and I'm going to put the nuts and the apricots in. And then I'm going to mix together until they're all combined. Just like that. And then I'm going to put that into my tin. And I'm going to level that out across the tin. And with that leveled like that, I'm going to put it into the oven. And I'm going to bake it for 35 to 40 minutes. I'll test a skewer into the centre of it, and it should come out fairly clean. There may be a few little specks of mixture on that, but that's fine because we don't want a dry blondie. We want this to be dense and moist. So as soon as I get that relatively clean skewer, I'll take it out of the oven and put the tin onto a wire rack to cool completely. Then I'll come back and we'll take it out of the tin and we'll cut it. I baked the blondie for 40 minutes, and then I took it out of the oven and let it cool completely in the tin. And then what I've done is I've peeled back the paper and I've simply cut it into pieces. I've cut mine into 20 pieces. This is very rich and dense, so you don't need large pieces. And this is what it looks like. As I say, it's moist inside, and I've already eaten some, but I'll have another taste now. It's nice and chewy. And I get the hazelnuts and the apricots, of course. So this is very, very good. I could eat quite a lot of that, which wouldn't be very healthy for me. But it is very good, and it's easy to make. And as I say, you can swap out apricots and hazelnuts and put in almost anything you want, really. So I hope you've enjoyed this recipe, and if you have, please give me a thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, which will take you to a link for this recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. And then I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.